Good morning.
Morning.
Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year. We're on time. That must be our New Year's resolution, right?
Right. I
Yeah,
mean, we can always go back to our regular time next week and just
yeah,
keep
yeah.
everybody.
But we'll surprise everybody this time. So
I'm like, look, we could actually start on time.
I know.
Let's see, 25 near. I think we're actually warmer than Texas today.
Yeah, we are in 58 or something already. It's supposed to
It,
be warm today, but
yeah,
thunderstorms and this weather's nuts.
I think
You
today's
watch.
our last warm day because then
Yeah,
we'll drop to 43 tomorrow. And
and you watch. Next week when the move, it'll be a snowstorm.
shush,
Ah.
shush, shush, shush. But that's okay. You've hired movers. They got to schlep through it, not you.
That's true. That's very true.
Um,
There goes the new carpeting, though.
You know, my grandma had these, and woe to you if you stepped off of these plastic runners.
Believe me, I've been thinking. I think those are too slippery. I think I'm just going to throw old tarps down on the carpeting.
You could.
Oh, Renee, you look so cute on New Year's Eve. Ted showed me a picture of you with your little crown.
Oh,
How pretty you looked.
well, good morning, everybody. Marianne is back. So if you were with us last week, Marianne was getting her new carpet put down. And you got all your painting and all that other stuff done
The
before that.
guy's finishing the kitchen up today. So, yeah, it's I don't ever want to do this again after this time. Let's put it that way.
Growing up the army brat, I was always, and I think that's one reason why I had such a hard time getting out of that house because I kept saying, like, when I get my house, I'm not moving ever again. And then I'm like, I want to get close to the work. And I was like, no, you're not. You said you were never moving again.
Right.
Hello, everybody. Let's see. Did you hear that the Franklin Castle is offering overnight stays? I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I saw that on the news that they were doing that. I don't know who. You're welcome. I don't know who is running that. I don't know if it's an owner, a caretaker of the I don't know. I would like to know who is in charge of that before what are they going to be offering it as a haunted B&B? Come and stay. I don't know what they're doing with it. There's some real bad sections of that property yet, though, that you don't even want to walk on. So
I've never
I don't
been
know
in there.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Hey, Maria, good friend. Glad you could join us. Maria Celeste, she actually, when she's in town, we used to be able to snag her to come teach classes and do workshops with crystals and stuff. So maybe someday we can snag her again. But if you're out near her, Indianapolis, I believe, go check her out. Beautiful crystals. Like when I get the nice, real big, pretty things, it's because I went and raided her table. Dylan says they make nice runners with rubber backings that you can get at Lowe's to protect your floors.
Oh, thanks, Dylan.
Well, and Ted, since he should have the military card, right?
Oh, yeah.
Has a better military discount than the orange one. Hello from California, Julie. Southern Colorado.
Wow, everybody's everywhere. Oh, they really got dumped on with snow. Wow. But they like it because of their skiing, so they can't complain too much.
Moreland Mansion in Kirtland Hills might be a fun place to find ghosts. Was that one that we kind of talked about like way back when?
Maybe. I don't remember any follow-up on it, though.
Lakeland. So it's part of Lake. No, that doesn't sound familiar to me, though.
No, and I've talked at Lakeland Community College, so I don't know.
Uh,
Have to find out.
there was a question, was it maybe Swifty who asked? I can't find it now, but the question was if any of your workers coming in doing the carpeting and painting, if they had anybody attached to them or ghosts following them around.
No, anybody that's been in now has been fine because Ted and I have been there for anybody that's been in there. So, and the movers, use these movers the last 3 moves. So, and it's the same guy. So we're good. Yeah, we're fine.
It is the first Woo Woo Wednesday of January 2023,
Yes,
of the whole year even.
Yep, yep.
Let's see, Margie, and Margie would know because she does a lot of houses. Says you can get temporary plastic runners to cover your carpet. Builders and realtors use it during showings. It's not slippery and sticks to the carpet and flooring, easy to put down and take up.
Oh, okay.
So,
I will look into that.
hey,
I
Lewis.
never thought about it. Oh, Lewis is back. I never thought about it. And that just went right out of my mind. Oh, that's okay. It'll come back someday.
It'll circle back.
Yeah, it'll come back again.
So, Lewis, did you happen? How many weeks ago now was it? 3 weeks ago, there was a podcast just for you, hon, about whether or not Marianne's ran into a ghost more than once from a portal.
That's right.
So that episode was because of a question that you asked. Let's see. Rebecca says, I have a question about the fossils from Loch Ness. Why do you keep yours in a jar with water? Is it ocean water, tap water, special water?
It is the water from Loch Ness. So I just decided to keep them in their own juice, so to speak.
Let's see. Oh, you are so welcome. And how is your puppy doing? I know you were having some issues last week. Hello, Deborah and Denise. Do you have any quince seeds up, or if the earthbounds come in, do you just kind of shush them away?
I do not have any seeds up. I figured I can get rid of whoever comes in. But aside from that, I work so much with different law enforcement agencies across the United States, basically. And I've had a number of times where one of the law enforcement people have died. And so they have showed up, in the middle of the night or that kind of stuff, or they're stuck. And so I just thought I better keep it open. Now, Ted has a dream bag that he keeps in under his pillow, which of course has the quince seed in. So if something were to come in, he would still be protected.
We got to keep Ted all the protecting we can.
Yep.
He's got enough going on. Let's see.
Yeah, since I was on last, 2 more hospital visits. Too much work, just back and forth, we're not used to this kind of stress. So.
Well, and I've been thinking, Marianne, I mean, you're out farther away now, so we may have to cut back how often we're doing some things because of the drive and weather and stuff. So, and we don't want to overwork Ted there, because Ted will not say I'm tired. That man, that is the last thing he's going to do is admit that he's tired and he needs to rest.
Yeah, that's not happening. So that's okay. That's what happens. You just do it.
We have to duct tape him to a chair. Or Velcro, right? Because we don't want it to be abusive. We'll Velcro the back of his clothing, Velcro the chair.
Actually, it's funny because I sort of said something to him. I says, I swear I'm going to tie your hands down so you can't do anything. And he says, ooh, should we go out and find furry handcuffs? I said, no.
Marianne, I do have clips of a certain week. We can play right along in with that. And hopefully Brooke on Twitch is ready to capture.
Oh, she's going to say something about that right now. I just know she is.
Karen says we should super glue him. Well, we want Ted to be able to get up out of the chair.
Yeah, right. He needs to move at some point.
See Margie, handcuffs.
Yeah, right.
What? Me?
Oh, innocent. Oh, Miss Innocence here. Right.
um, Dylan says we are looking for a new house, and generally I'm pretty good at sensing bad energy, but is there a good way to know when a property is a no-go?
Seriously, I think you really need to trust your gut instinct. If you walk into I mean, you can walk into a house and find 99% of what you want. But if that house does not feel good to you or your stomach's doing flip flops, there's a reason. Now,
Mhm.
keep this in mind though. If you find your house and you want it and that it's perfect and it can be fixed, it can be taken, whatever the problem can be removed. So don't not buy a house because of that, because whatever it is, it can be fixed.
Right. And I guess I think the first thing that came to mind, like common sense, like go look up the history. I think there's a website called like diedin.com or something like that. Or yeah, Died In will tell you if a property's had deaths in it. And maybe Margie will know because she does property work. But see if you can find what the history of the house is.
But do they tell on that site people that died of natural causes or only people that died of violent causes? See, in Ohio, it's a state
Mhm.
law that has to be disclosed to a buyer when they're buying a house, that there was a murder or suicide, there was a violent death in the house. If it was a natural death, they don't have to say anything because we die. And that doesn't mean it was violent. So I think you could check that for sure. The other thing that you can do, and police stations all across the United States are going to be so happy with me, but call the local police department where you're looking to buy the house and ask how that neighborhood has been. Has there been any break-ins? Has there been trouble in that area? Has there been robberies, break-ins, cars being stolen? They have to tell you.
Mhm.
And that might put it on your plus and minus page and see where that fits in. But definitely, like I said, you can fix whatever you find. It can be fixed.
Yeah, the I think the Died In only tells you if there's been murders or violent
Okay, well, that's good to know.
which got honestly it doesn't always mean there's something there, but
Yeah,
I think that would be
no.
more of likely to have something going on versus if little grandma just kind of passed away quietly, crocheting or something.
Yeah, if it was a family member that was murdered or committed suicide, chances are that when the family moves, they're going to move with them. So there's not going to be anything there. This old thing that if they died in that house, they can't ever leave. Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, please. So,
There's always that whole like it's locked in place and I'm just like
yeah,
why would they
how
do
can that be? You're totally pure energy. What's going to lock you in? Oh, I know. The Ghostbusters gun. That'll get you.
right.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
So for our new friends joining, you can see us. Marianne can't see you. So Marianne is not a psychic medium. She is not delivering messages from anybody that has crossed over. And because she cannot see you or see into your house, she's not able to tell you anything about earthbounds that might be in your current place. She does offer Zoom sessions for that to happen, which you can join through that link right there. It is limited to 20 people. There is a cost. I think it's like what, $20. Like it's been a minute and I've already like bloop. But everybody who signs up gets to ask 2 questions and we go until everybody is done. They start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Brooke. Brooke's like my personal assistant from Florida. um, So we invite anybody to join us, and we've had friends from all over, and like Setsuko's there a lot, and she's in Japan.
And
Just
Lewis is in England.
right. We got to get Lewis on some point.
Oh no, he hasn't been on Zoom. No.
No, no,
I
no.
wish he would come on Zoom, but he hasn't been on Zoom. Who was that guy? Oh, you weren't on with your mother. There was a guy on there from Korea,
Oh,
a composer, the last one.
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was surprising. But we've had people from Australia and New Zealand, so they've had a lot of people.
Brooke says it's a proton pack that will trap the
Yes,
ghosts.
that's it. See, I just sort of blow that totally off. Doesn't exist in my head.
But yeah, you can join us, find out what's going on. No one under the age of 18, so don't have little Billy, little Sally, sitting on the couch next to you. They don't need to hear what's going on in other people's houses. The last time you and I were on, there was a child predator hanging around, and they don't need to hear that and have that on the radar if it wasn't already something on their radar.
Right.
Divine says, "Good morning, ladies. I looked at a picture of a friend's house and felt uncomfortable. She has had a much easier time in the house since I gave her quince seed."
Well, and again, you used your instinct, and that's what you do. And it's really amazing. People that do wear the charm, that wear the quinseed, they trust their instincts a little bit more once they have that quinseed on because they know it's not a ghost influencing them. Makes a difference.
Let's see. Oh, Scott's joining us on Twitch as well. So thank you, babe. Let's see. So how would somebody know if a loved one is still earthbound?
If you've never had a dream of them, because earthbound spirits never go into a person's dreams. So if you or your relatives and cousins and whoever have never dreamt of grandma or grandpa, there's a good chance they did not cross over. But if at least one of them did, then that means that they are where they're supposed to be. A lot of relatives don't cross over because of fighting at the end. You'd be amazed how many people haven't talked to a relative in 4 or 5 or 6 years. And then they die, and they think it's too late at that point then to do anything. And it's not. But that's what they think. So that might be one reason why a person, wouldn't go over. If you had a relative that was very possessive, they really liked all of their things, they were not sharers, they didn't let you, you walked in their house and you could look with your eyes but not with your hands. Maybe they stuck around to watch their stuff. So there's all kinds of reasons why people stay. A very common one is a couple that's been married for a number of years. The one that dies first will stick around waiting for the spouse to die. So that's another reason why a relative would stay. And all they're going to do is cross over when their spouse dies. The two of them will go together.
Well, thank you, Judy. She says, blessings wish for the New Year's for both of you. Mr. Miyagi says, my friend Rich is coming on Zoom in February. If we sage the house before, can you tell us where to put the seeds, where the portals are? It's a very active house.
Yes, I can. As long as he's calling from where the problem is at, we'll be able to tell. Just because you smudge does not mean that the ghost, if there are any there, will be gone. They could just be there and still just be very lethargic, which is what the smudging does. So, but yeah, we can figure it out and, see what's going on. Absolutely.
Coins and Ghouls says they've had 4 bad incidences occur now on the Cincinnati Bengals field. Is it bad juju?
I've never been to that field, so I don't know. And I unfortunately cannot tell from watching a game if that field is cursed or not, like ours is in Cleveland. But I would have to say any big sports place like that is going to have negative energy on it.
Especially when it's a big rival.
That's right.
Let's see. Karen already listened to this morning's podcast. It said, great podcast. The furniture being moved, I imagine, would zap the earthbound's energy completely.
You know, you'd be surprised. There is so much energy in nursing homes, which is almost an oxymoron. It's like these are old people. What kind of energy do they have? But think of the energy that they have having pity parties for themselves, being stuck in here, mad because they're in there, mad because their relatives don't come to visit them, mad because the help, they've been ringing the bell for 5 minutes and I have to go to the bathroom and they haven't come to take me potty. There's all kinds of energy in nursing homes. Gotta admit, it's not always good energy, but there's a lot of energy in nursing homes.
I don't remember if it was part of the podcast or if it was part of a side conversation that I ended up editing out. But you were talking about the lady that would go steal the rosaries
Yeah.
from the other people. She's a little klepto.
Well, what about the one that went around stealing everybody's false teeth during the night?
Right? I forgot
You have
about
to
that one.
figure out how. Here, try this one on. Does this one fit? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's like the equivalent of, like, you know, when your mom used to write your name in Sharpie on your underwear, like you have to flip your teeth over and like write your name in Sharpie. or keep your teeth.
Keep them in your mouth. Don't take them out.
My goodness. Thank you, Melanie, for the reminder. Everyone, please don't forget to like and share the video. Grow our audience, and that'll give us an easier reason to be able to travel around with better weather and do more things. To do in-person appearances. Because we need people to come. We have to pay for these places up front, and then that's why we charge, because we have to pay the bill for being there.
Yep.
Are there some earthbounds that are more draining than others?
You know, as ridiculous as it sounds, people have different personalities. And if you are an A-type personality and you die and you don't go into the light, you're going to be a ghost with an A-type personality. So, yeah, they're going to be more mischievous than some sweet old lady that just stuck around to wait for her husband to die. So, absolutely.
Hang on. Because somebody's question just triggered. And I'm like, I meant to ask Jim this. So remember the little girl from the Office Space who said she used to like going into the store and playing with the stones, and then when we put the seeds up, she
Yes.
could get over. And I'm like, oh, we'll cross over and you can come back and visit. Well, last night there was the development circle, and some people they're like, have you heard anything since Marianne? And I'm like, well, no, because there's nothing here. And they're like, not even a little girl. I'm like, no, they can't. And then I'm like, but I did kind of bribe the one, you know, be like, here's another reason to go. So I was going to ask Jim if he's, you know, maybe picked up on her. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to text him real quick, and hopefully, because he's at work, if he can answer before the live's done, and we'll find out.
How long ago did we do that, Melissa?
It's been at least a month.
Okay. Keep this in mind. When this little gal went into the light, think of all the relatives and everybody she had to visit and see because she was dead for so long and she hadn't been there. Just about a month, that should take care of it, which she could be going out again on her own. So that just might be timing right on that.
Yeah. So we'll see if Jim's able to answer us before the live's done. Otherwise, we'll hold that
For
to
next
next week.
time, right?
Right. um, City is just curious of what the little frame says behind you. If you care to share.
Oh, sure, why not? I got to take it off and pack it today anyway. When sweetness fails and tears don't work, bitch.
I like it.
A customer gave me this.
Oh, that's fun. I like it. Um,
Yeah, next week is going to be fun on our talk on Wednesdays. So we move on the 12th, and next Wednesday is the 11th. And all the wiring for computers and stuff like this has to be done at the new house on the 11th, which is fine because my daughter Tara could have gone there and met the people, and I could have stayed here and done this. But before they will turn on all this business in the new house, they have to turn it off in this house. So I won't have a computer here next week. So I'm going to be at Tara's house. And surprise, surprise, Tara's going to be on with me. And Amber, our oldest daughter, is in from California. She's coming in very late on the 10th. I don't know what she's going to look like on Wednesday morning, but
refreshed and ready to go.
put her hair in a ponytail, I'm sure. And yeah,
She's military. She can pull it off.
yeah. So you get to see me and the two girls next week, and maybe a surprise at the end. So we'll see. And it's not Ted. He's not the surprise.
Poor Ted.
Well, the girls think he's a surprise. They always do. But
well,
yeah.
Everybody loves your sign.
Oh,
Melanie says amen to that sign. Let's see. Now are the girls no sibling rivalry on camera?
I will not ever guarantee that. I will keep one on each side because there'll be a space in the middle. So
you might need Ted on camera to stand between the two.
You never know. You never know. No, now that they're more mature, they've gotten better.
Just got more sly at getting one another, most likely. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always the tone in the voice. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't like your tone. I don't like the way you're talking to me.
Well, don't tell me you've got a brother and a sister. Don't tell me sitting in the back seat driving someplace, you didn't do this and just put one finger on your sister. Mom, she's touching me.
I was the one that tried to ignore everybody else in the car and just like scrunched up against the window and just tried to ignore the rest of the car. Those two, the younger brother and sister, were the ones that would like nitpick. But they usually could entertain one another nitpicking. I just kind of
got out of it. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, we had a lot of time in the car because we were the military ones. And so we would have to do the drive back to visit for all the holidays. And so Fort Campbell to, the Overland area, 8-10 hours driving. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
With siblings in the car.
Yeah.
So.
Right. It helped when we got our first van because there were 2 rows of back seats. So one sat in one row and the other one sat in the other row, and it was easier that way.
Nope.
And then the next van got more, well, I won't just say expensive, got more things in it. So then there was a TV back there. So that kept them quiet for a while too. You know what? That's kids. That's what they're supposed to do. That's their job. Right. That's why you are not so sad when they leave when they're 18.
Go be adults.
That's right. Go be an adult. And the last one out, you sell the house so they can't move back in.
I tried that. I still got one.
Yeah, I don't know. You messed up there somewhere.
I did. Darn it. I'll have to try this again. Um,
You better take that one back.
Then I shouldn't say anything. He's in there doing prep work for his new job, so
Oh, good.
he's doing
Okay.
that. And we were in the back of a Ford Taurus, so we were literally like
On top of one another.
So
Yeah.
my pillow, my Walkman, and
Yeah.
that was how our trips went. Heather says, I'm not Catholic, so I'm not 100% sure about this, but isn't it frowned upon to wear rosaries? And I'm like, I don't even know. And technically, I've been confirmed. I haven't been excommunicated, but I also snuck out quietly the side door when they weren't looking. You would
I
know better.
remember it was probably 3rd grade, and one of the girls came in, and we had made our first communion in 2nd grade. And you were given this little pink rosary that was plastic with the plastic cross, and it was like on string. It was no big deal. But she came in wearing the rosary around her neck. And 3rd grade, no, 2nd grade, we had a nun teaching us because we were making our communion. But 3rd grade, we had a lay teacher. And the lay teacher didn't seem to anything about it. I mean, she seemed okay. Me and my one girlfriend said, oh, I'm going to wear my rosary tomorrow because she's wearing her rosary. Well, one thing led to another. And because she was a lay teacher, even though she was Catholic, she was not allowed to teach us religion. So the priest had to come in once a day during religion classes to teach us religion. I don't know how that old priest spotted that necklace on that little girl. But yeah. And he called her up to the front and he said, which I thought was so odd. He said, are you going to be a nun? And now this is 3rd grade. And she said, she says, I'm wearing my necklace so you know I'm holy. So I'm going to be a nun. And that threw the priest. I don't think he was expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at her and he said, okay, he says, but have you ever seen a nun wear a necklace, a rosary around her neck? She said, no. And we have the nuns, Sisters of St. Joseph, which their bib, their white bib was a big bib. It wasn't a small, all the habits look different, but they have the big white bib. So if they wore a rosary, you would see it smack right there on that bib. And she said, no. And he says, do you know where they wear their rosaries? And she said, yeah, around their waist. And he said, that's right.
Did she show up tomorrow or the day after,
No, but she looked at him and she said, but it won't fit. Apparently she tried.
She was ready for him without even realizing she needed to be ready for him. I love it.
So the next day she came in with the rosary safety pin to her jumper, her uniform.
That's adorable, though. That is adorable.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Is she a nun now? Do you know? Did she ever
No, she never became a nun. No, oh yeah, no, never. As a matter of fact, well, never mind. No, she didn't.
Okay. That's adorable.
No, she was no, she didn't. She didn't even finish high school. So
well,
yeah, that's okay. Things change.
All right.
Yeah, right.
Kathy says, I occasionally pet sit. Some of the pets are nasty, like kissing cats. And I wear a charm. Could I put a charm on the pet while I'm there? Other suggestions? Well, that'll kind of calm them down, maybe.
Well, no, because the charm works on people and animals that are dead. These cats are alive. So I don't think so. You just go in and do what you have to and leave. Sometimes with the grooming shop, and when I would get an animal in that was hard to handle, you think talking softly to it, petting it quietly, giving them a treat, that sometimes, will work. but not as much as ignoring them.
Mhm.
They don't like to be ignored.
Yeah.
So if you walk in, don't even say hi to them. Don't look for them. Empty, clean the litter box, get them fresh water, put new food down. Don't even say hi to them. See what happens the next time you go.
I've been lucky. The 2 cats that I've had, which yeah, he's still
Oh
the
yeah, open his window.
yeah, both of them have been such just low key, calm, tolerate a lot of stuff. Like, I didn't even think this one knew how to hiss until, Sandy tried to pick him up, and he just real quick, and she's like, "Okay." But he still let her pet him and everything else, and he got up on the couch and everything with her, but I didn't think he knew how to do that because he had never done it before. But he's
I
so
had
cute.
a yeah, I had a house to do, and there was a portal in the basement in the family room down there. And so I had to go downstairs to close the portal, and I saw the cat upstairs because they allowed their cat to come on the table. And so while I was talking to them while we're sitting at the kitchen table, this particular cat was sniffing around my case, and you know, and that was allowed there. But I had to go downstairs, and there was another cat down there. And I said, "Why is this cat downstairs?" "Oh, he's just a mean cat. He's like a feral cat. He likes to be left alone down here." And I said, "Okay." So I just sort of ignored him. And I went over to a little table that didn't have anything on the top of it. It was a round table, maybe 18 inches in circle. And I put what I was using to close the portal down on that. And he came up to that table, and he was like walking around the table. And the owner, the man said, Don't even try to bend down to pet him. He will bite you." And I said, "I'm not going to try to pet him." So I went to the table to pick up my little bottle of stuff I was using, and didn't he jump up on the table? He wanted to see what was in that. And I just ignored him, and he looked over at me. He walks over to me and starts purring so loud. His motor was just running. You have no idea how loud this cat was purring. And I thought, "Really?" So I just reached down and pet him down his back, and his tail went up in the air, and he was just purring. And the husband and wife looked, and they went, "We've never touched that cat." They had never touched that cat.
Well, maybe that's why he was grumpy
I
because
don't know. So it's like, oh, sometimes I feel so sad for the animals.
no. Yeah, that one, he's a good boy.
Yeah, no, we've seen him. He's
Yeah. He's good. Why does an earthbound husband stay compared to the wife zooming off into the light?
because I think sometimes when the husband is dead, they're more loyal. And let it go with that.
Mic drop. Well, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, a little guilt.
Anyone else having issues with Mercury retrograde?
Melissa, I am so shocked you even put that question up
It's
there.
been sitting there for a minute.
Yeah, I bet it has. I've had stuff going crazy with this move, and maybe it would have happened anyway if it wasn't a Mercury retrograde. I don't know. I'm not going to complain about it too much because I've seen worse. But it's not over yet, and it's not over until the 17th of January. So we got a little, but my kids are very, very tuned into this because the one that's flying in from California is supposed to actually leave to go back to California on the 17th. But my girls are smart. And she made sure that she was off for 4 days longer than that. So in case the Mercury retrograde messed with her plane flight, she could still get back to work when she was supposed to. You just plan. That's all you do is plan.
I'm not having any problems.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Right. Rhonda asked, can ghosts in your home that have been crossed over come back to visit?
Oh, absolutely. Why wouldn't you want your friends and your relatives to visit? They don't miss, and all these holidays that we just had, everybody has had a big amount of them visiting. On a day that you just think of your grandmother for no good reason, that's probably a day that she's visiting. Or, you had a good dream of her that night. So no, and the seeds don't stop them because they're from the white light.
And so, which made me think, because again, I thought of that little girl,
Mhm.
crossed over. Jim hasn't answered. So maybe we'll have the answer for next week because he is at work. But Brooke asks, that brings up an interesting question. Marianne, has the spirit that you crossed over come back and spoken to you with it through a medium?
I've never been to a medium, so I don't know.
You're just all sorts of done with the dead. Like, you'll see them when you get over there.
Yeah. I see them in my dreams, but relatives and that. But I've no.
And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but we'll ask it anyway. Marianne, have you ever seen an angel or anyone from the light? Have you ever felt someone around, but there were no earthbounds, but you just maybe suspected?
Yeah, when I get that tingle thing, then I have to start thinking, is it little folk? Is it wee folk? Is it alien? Is it something other than an earthbound spirit? Because of our guardian angel and our spirit guides that are with us all the time, and we were born with, them being around us, so we wouldn't know a difference. So this is normal. Even though they're around here, I don't feel them in particular. So, but people that can talk to ones that crossed over, I think they have a bigger issue or more of a feeling of picking up on them when they're in the house.
Bridget says, so this is a little strange. I bought a dream bag and a Quincy charm that I don't take off. I had a dream where my charm split in half and broke and the seed fell out. Could that mean an earthbound wants my charm off and broken?
I have to admit, Bridget, none of the earthbound spirits like the quinseed. That is totally destroying what they want to do and get the energy from you. They cannot break your charm. They cannot take your charm. I know some people think that when their charm is missing, that a ghost has taken it, but that is usually, I've never known a ghost, an earthbound spirit, to take a charm, ever. But I have known little folk to take them. So what do you have in your house? I should do a podcast with little folk now that I'm thinking about it.
You should.
Yeah, really should.
And Heather says you're the ghost and cat whisperer. And Karen agrees. You're a cat whisperer.
You know what? When you work with animals and with the grooming shop for 16, 17 years, you run across, and I groomed cats too. And if they had claws, I would bathe them with my winter jacket on inside out so that when they would attack me, they'd get my coat.
Poor
I never took easy jobs. Why did I do all this? I don't know.
Because you would be bored otherwise.
Apparently.
Deborah says, Marianne, 2 weeks ago, you talked about the earthbound nuns you've seen. Were any of them from Parmadale? A local news channel recently did an episode on the abuse that occurred there.
Yes. Okay, that's it. There was a nun from there.
Moving on. Moving on.
That's why I get asked to do this stuff, because we don't talk about that. She was not the abuser, however. Just put that in your, she was not the abuser. And they had a lot of incidences up there. And believe it or not, because my one sister had to go, we belonged to a Catholic church when we were growing up, and the school got too big. So they built another church and another school. For 1 year, we had to go to public school while they were building the new school. But because my sister was in second grade, she had to go to Parmadale, so that she could get the correct religious training education to do her first communion. So my sister went to school with those orphans up there. And I don't think the problem was bad then. I think when it became a place more for foster care, I think that's when the older kids that were there, the teenagers, the ones that were ready to age out, I think that's where a lot of the problems were.
Hmm. Esther asks, recently a family friend passed. Their body was flown back home where it was held up for days at the airport due to cancellations. Do spirits wait for the viewing or do they have a certain amount of time to cross over?
No. They have 48 to 72 hours after the final memorial service. And with COVID, some of that was 6 or 7 months. And if they chose, they could have crossed over at any time, but some of them chose to stay to see what their memorial service was like. So no, they were probably there without a problem.
Yes, people want a little folk podcast episode or a couple, because I'm sure you got more than one story.
Yeah, I just have to figure out how to make sense out of it. It makes sense to me, but to make sense to you.
Right. There, somebody, where was it? Oh, there she is. Says, I placed an order from your shop and it was delivered so fast. So thank you.
We have good people doing that, really good people.
And they're all kitty cat approved.
They all are. If you got it by the mail, you got your little stamp on it.
Back to Mercury retrograde troubles. Margie says she's having trouble, entered into a purchase contract during the last retrograde. Still having trouble with the same property, has not closed yet.
That is why we would not be moving if I couldn't have signed all the final papers for this new house before the Mercury retrograde started. Margie, I feel bad for you because that is going to be a pain in your butt for a while. Nothing is going to happen. I would be very surprised until after the 19th. I don't think wait.
Hey, Sandy.
19th, yeah.
Good morning, my favorite ladies. I know Sandy's waiting for another round of the WTF letters. She was one of our readers. So, or some nut podcasts too of what you could stories and tell.
It's really bad. Oh, never mind. I'll save it for the podcast. No. I'm not giving Brooke any more ammunition.
Thanks, guys. There's a couple people in saying that they loved last week, so thank you. And there were some requests, and I'm like, I need to sit down and put in the timeline of all the stuff that happened at that house. Because we had the old guy there, the Mr. Bates, and then there was the aliens. Then I had a round of the fairies after you got rid of him. So, like, what was happening and when? So that house. And I'm sure Nikki's having a great time there now. So yeah, we need some letters. Oh, hey, Aries, friend over on first time listener over there, I think, on Twitch for us. So this is where, for Aries and our other new fun people, if you have questions about ghosts, earthbound spirits, the TV show, The Ghost Whisperer, now's the time and ask. Marianne's going to answer you live. We do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. When we were talking about it last night, promoting that we were going to be doing this today, they were like, the one with Jennifer Love Hewitt. I'm like, yes, but she's not the one who's here, and they don't look anything alike.
Yes, we both have brown eyes.
Well, me too.
Okay, so you look like us too then.
Let's see. How do you know if your house is on a ley line?
You know what? I don't have enough information about that. If I had, I would almost think, Melissa, that your house is on a ley line.
That one, yeah.
And I'm only saying that because that house is just just given us fits trying to make it right. And I don't have any other excuse for that except that. And I don't have enough knowledge about that to give you an explanation. Maybe you know more what they mean, Melissa, than me, because I do not.
Only very, very small, basic. Like there was a time where I was kind of reading about it. And again, with that whole house, like what's going on. Um, it could be, I don't know. There was also the suggestion, was it feng shui? But how the house sat on a corner and there was a almost like a triangle, crossroads triangle, like right in front. And so even though there wasn't a direct stop that faced the house, because part of the explanation was every time, so if you're coming up on a road of a T, and if there's a house right here on this T, the energy
Nice.
of hits that house. And I'm like, no, but it's running next to, so it's on this corner here. There was a street here, and then this V way, but the V-way would kind of hit here and off this way. So it was sitting in this weird
Section.
traffic pattern section. Had been the funeral home, doing all this work. My shaman teacher went to the point of contacting certain spirits of the dead and trying to let that go. And I know at one point, just sitting in my living room, I looked up and saw the one, and I'm like, hey, thanks for, allowing the parting to happen. And he's like, you weren't freaked out? And I'm like, nah, it was actually kind of cool. I was honored. Like, not a problem. Just trying to shut, that down and release. So yeah, that the whole conundrum of that house and all the things that happened. Like, I always laugh when people are talking about St. Joseph and selling the house. I'm like, I had an army of them in the yard. Literally, there were like 12 at one point, I think, because of all the corners and everything else, and like didn't work. So,
I find it, and I thought about it, or I never thought about it before until about a month ago. We were driving someplace and it was a slightly curved street. And as he's driving, I'm looking at the side, looking at houses. And we came to this slight curve, and there were 4 houses that were in this curve. None of them were facing the street forward. They were sort of angled a little bit, but there were 4 of them angled in the same direction. Every one of those houses had a curse on them. I could see it from the outside.
right.
And I'm thinking to myself, now why would 4 houses in a row have a curse on them? Now, a lot of times the families buy houses together because they're so close. They all want to live next to each other. And so, but I'm thinking to myself, and then we were someplace yesterday and there were 2 houses next to each other that were sort of angled. Again, they both had a curse on them. I'm wondering if a house doesn't sit on the property squared, if that does something. Or are those ley lines? See, I don't know.
I'm going to have to pester Hank. I think he knows more about that. And maybe I'll rope him in for a podcast on the store side about it. One of his good friends, who is from Fellowship of the Spirit, used to go out and teach classes and how, like, if the energy was off, how to use like rods and corners and like correcting, that. And like 11 years ago when I met him, talked about it was fascinating. And then I'm like, in one ear, out the other. Was interesting during the conversation, but I'm like, I don't remember. So I'll have to maybe kind of pull that in and see what we can learn.
There was a lady that I knew many, many, many years ago that, and I don't think she called them ley lines. I just think that she just used to call them houses that were in the wrong position. And I had a customer back then that everything was fine in the house, but The house didn't have bad energy, but it didn't have good energy. It had no energy, which is, I think that's not a good thing. And so I was talking to her about it, and she says, "Oh, here's what you do." She says, "Do you know anybody that works in a factory?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, when they are doing something with iron pipes, they grind them down. And at the bottom on the floor, they have these big buckets that hold the shavings or the little fine stuff that falls off.
Mhm.
Get your hands on some of that fine stuff and put it in the four corners of the house. See if that doesn't make a difference. I don't know. And so I actually knew two people, and I called them, and they said, "Gosh, I don't know how to get it." And I says, "Well, do you have like an old butter container?" Or, I mean, just something to scoop some out. I don't think I need more than a teaspoon on each corner. And so I got it, and I gave it to this lady. She had to do it. I didn't do it. And after that, the house was fine. But
Mm.
I don't know what that did.
Iron is a very and it's funny because today at the same time that mine and your podcast, when Go Speak released, a store one went out, and it's on working with gold, silver, iron, and copper
Oh,
in magical working. In iron, and it's funny because like in there, I am talking with Zach, and I'm like, it's a very passive in a way metal. It does one or two things really, really well, which is protection. It doesn't really attract unless it's been magnetized. It doesn't do a whole lot, but it's very steadfast and protective. So if you're putting it in the four corners, it's going to hold off some stuff. And Zach gives some examples of what to do with iron. The thing with iron, though, like if you're trying to bury it or do things for protection, it can eventually like erode completely away. So it is a type of undertaking that you may have to like redo every now and then because
okay.
it'll corrode away.
Okay.
Um, but certain metals, because they conduct, they can this, they can that, they can do multiple things. Iron kind of does one, and it does it really well, and it's really
See,
good
I
for
did not know
physical.
that.
Mhm.
All I knew is that it worked, and that's the only time I ever told anybody to do it. Um, Interesting. But see, it's also interesting in like the one podcast with the guy that had the jewelry from Italy,
Mhm.
metal,
Yep.
gold, silver, sterling, platinum. I don't know of any jewelry made of iron, but
Mm. It's not very
but
pretty, it's not very, yeah.
right, but that is what who was putting the curse on people can focus on the metal that they gave them, a pair of earrings, a cross, a necklace, a ring. That's what they concentrate on when they're increasing the curse on somebody. That's
Mhm.
why I tell people get rid of that stuff or cleanse it or do something with it so that they don't have anything to keep focusing on. So, yeah, so I guess metal has got something to do with it.
Well, metal in general, scientifically, is a great conductor. So if you're putting energy in, that metal is going to conduct it and carry it. Um, not trying to tell people how to curse people. You can also, on the other side, use it for healing, especially copper.
Yeah,
Um,
I knew that. The copper was good for that. Yeah.
and we even talk about how like copper is antimicrobial. So, back when they used to do the dining tables, what was it? What was the restaurant that had the copper tables and then they got rid of them? Stouffer's. The copper and brass because they're antimicrobial. And I'm like, there's the protection, there's a way to heal, especially if you have somebody who's already sick. Use the copper to kind of get in there and get rid of stuff. Um, so, but yeah, I can see how iron would have worked, and you can order iron shavings. We actually carry it. The one thing we do discuss, and I think you and I touched on this briefly at one point during a live, some traditions and folklore will say that it's good for keeping fairies away. They don't like touching iron. And then other things are like, nah, it doesn't work.
See, but I never heard about it for the iron shavings. what I heard about the little folk is that just go to your local hardware store and get a jar of nails and
Mm.
put them in a little jar by the front door. Or uh, somebody asked if they could put copper pennies by the door, and I said no, that it had to be more of an iron thing. And apparently, you can still buy, I think they're called penny nails that are iron, that you
Mm.
can actually buy those nails and put them in a little jar, like by your front door, your back door, that little folk don't like them either. Right. Right.
I do have copper bracelets in the store. I don't know if they're online, but you can contact the store through a messenger or email, and then we'll get you hooked up. And nails have also been in used in like witch bottles that you bury in your yard for protection. You know, there's other things that go in the jar with them, but putting the nails, you know, in there for protection. Um, Bridget asks, if we put put your blessed salts on our jewelry, will that take care of something like that?
If you cleanse the jewelry that you got from somebody that you think is giving you a problem, yeah, but just make sure you cleanse it correctly. And you have to, when you use the sea salt, when you take your jewelry out of the sea salt, do not put that sea salt back or throw it out in your own house. Put
Mhm.
it in a baggie and take it with you someplace to an outside garbage can. Don't, because all you're doing is dumping whatever you took off the jewelry back onto your own property.
Yeah, I'm gonna say in some of the hoodoo traditions, it would be somewhere off your property to the is it the east? Because coming in from the west, coming in, the east is removing, west is bringing in. It
Isn't
would
that
be
reversed?
yeah, it's one of like I'm trying to remember, and there's
The
multiple.
sun comes up in a day that's east. The sun comes up in the east, it goes down in the
You
west.
figure
So it
like
would
a
be
lot of
reversed.
water and air
Right.
flow, so that's why I'm like,
No, go east, west.
so you know, I'm like just turn right and go find a gas station because they always have those garbage cans. Like toss it in
That's
there.
right.
They're
Or
not
a
gonna.
mall. There's outside everywhere. Just get rid of them. Yeah, I mean, just don't do it on your own property. That's all.
Now, Marianne, you can see a curse on Zoom. And then another question from a couple people: what does the curse look like, at least to you? Because I'm sure it's going to look different to you just versus somebody else.
I see occurs on a piece of property, a house, or a person, and it looks like a little mist or a little fog over the person or the house or the property. Depending on how bad it is, it can be gray to charcoal gray to black to a light navy blue to dark navy blue to black. I never see, like people see auras, pinks and blues and purples. And no, I don't see those. I only see the dark colors. And again, depending on what shade or color it is, I can usually tell how bad it is.
Now, have you seen pyrite or hematite work, either in fairy or similar type of iron working? Because I know hematite can be magnetized because it does have iron.
Yeah, somebody gave me and I probably have a pack someplace, but somebody gave me a hematite bracelet. Um, I never wore it. It didn't have bad energy on it, but it was it was like buzzing. I don't know how to describe it. It was
Mhm.
I never wore it, but I really don't know what I did with it. I'll have to
In a
find it.
box, waiting to go to the new
Yeah,
house.
it's somewhere. It's either here or there. I don't know. I'll find it someday. Well,
Um,
no, I will.
so what does the copper bracelet for you? For some people, they're going to say it's going to help with balance. I don't know how much stock I put into
Wait, wasn't copper supposed to help for arthritis?
Supposed to help with arthritis, blood circulation because of the metal, the copper,
Oh, okay.
iron in it. But in this case, we were talking of copper being antimicrobial. If you're getting it for that, that's really not going to do you a whole lot because most people, even if you're shaking hands, they're touching your hand, not your bracelet. So, but you can have it for healing of yourself. You could charge that up for healing. If you yourself are a Reiki master or know somebody that can kind of do that for you, it'll hold that and carry it. Selenite is more of a cleanser. I read so many things where it does everything under the sun. No. It never needs cleansed. It cleanses itself. It'll cleanse other things. You can lay your jewelry on it or in the bowl, but you need to keep an eye on that. I personally had a copper tetragrammaton pendant that I left overnight, and in the morning the bale was weakened because of that salt to copper erosion. So, keep an eye on your science of chemical reaction between the two. But yeah, so copper for arthritis. Blue lace agate helps with arthritis. So does amber. But amber has to touch the area of the body that your arthritis is in. So that can be the challenge. So like if you've got arthritis in the knee, you're going to be sitting there holding your piece of amber on your knee or trying to figure out how to duct tape it. Otherwise, it's supposedly not going to work.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow. It's already over 11. That was
okay.
Kind of quick. So the next Zoom, if anybody would like to join Zoom, find out if you've got ghost assistances going on in your house or portals or negative energy, is in February on the 10th. Before we went live, there were 10 spots available. So don't wait on that one. That is the link here to sign up for that. January is booked. Please don't email saying that it's broken and you want in and can I force it? I cannot. It's full. That's why it doesn't show up for you.
Yeah, and it doesn't work calling me either because I can't get you in. I have no control over that at all.
The link is going to automatically bring up what one is available and how many spots. It works rather well, the system that I use. Please make sure you type your email in correctly. Because once you register and you pay and you click submit, you get an automatic confirmation that, hey, you paid for this on this date at this time. Here is your link for Zoom. If you're typing too fast and you mess up that email, you're not going to get it. Then you're going to end up calling me trying to figure out, and I've got to go in there and correct it and resend it to you. So please be careful when you're typing in your email. We talked about your surprise for next week. Do we have anything else? It's kind of late right now. New year.
Yeah, well, it's January, February, March. You don't try to do too much this time of year, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying this lately, even though like I'm low key still getting all the tax stuff ready that needs to happen. And inventory. One of my good friends, her son is working part-time on college break. He's leaving Saturday though to go back he's in veterinary school. And this poor young man, I'm like, you have to be dreaming about numbers and counting at this point and counting all the things. So it's that time of year that I'm like, it's slower, but it's tedious.
Busy. It's still busy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So join us next Wednesday, 10 a.m. We do this every week. I think the only hiccup that might be coming up is on the 25th, depending on when my plane leaves for Tucson. So if I'm not here, it might be somebody filling in for me. We'll see.
We'll talk about it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Thanks, guys. Okay. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye-bye.